The water and the land along the intersection of the Connecticut River and the Millers River holds a lot of meaning for the indigenous tribes around here. In 1932, the French King Bridge was built to relocate a 7-mile stretch of dangerous highway that passed through Millers Falls and Turner's Falls on tight, winding roads with a lot of dangerous curves and narrow bridges. That year, it won the award for Most Beautiful Steel Bridge by the American Institute of Steel Construction. But once it was built, it became a location that people sought out in the depths of their worst days, and it has affected so many people. The people who considered or completed their suicides, their loved ones, first responders, government officials, and many local residents. And now we enter a new iteration of the bridge, one that is safer. This new era doesn't erase the ones before it. In time, we'll find out how the addition of safety barriers on the French King Bridge can assist in healing us as individuals, as families, and as a community. Recently, I was reflecting on the completion of this project with Ray Purington from Gill, who expresses his regrets for not being able to attend today. And both of us had similar sentiments. I remarked that it isn't often as a municipal employee that you get to plan something that will without a doubt make the community a better place, and that it will do so immediately. And Ray responded that it isn't often as a human being that you get to say, I made the world a safer place. And we've all done that here. So I'm honored to be here with you all today. I know that there's many people who weren't able to be here in person for a variety of reasons, but we do have Bernardston Northfield Community Television here recording, and the recording will be posted on the town YouTube page. And so once that's posted later this week, feel free to share it with anyone who might be interested. And now we're going to hear remarks from several people who helped make this bridge barrier project happen. First up, Representative Whips.
Thank you everyone for being here today. This has been a long project, and when I look around the room, I see a lot of people who have worked really hard over the years to bring attention to the need that we had with this bridge. I remember in 2015 being here with the leaders from Gill and Erving with Senator Stan Rosenberg, the Senate President at the time. Representative Steve Kulik, who represented across this swath, former Representative and now Senator Paul Mark, and our newest colleague who's been so passionate about this, Senator Joe Comiford. It takes a lot to get priority, especially in a small area, and a huge thank you to Stacey Hamill's advocacy, because she really pushed this project over the finish line, in my opinion, by bringing a lot of attention to this. The current administration, as well as the Baker-Polito administration, paid a lot of attention to this project, and I'd especially like to thank our current Secretary of Transportation, the local leaders from Erving and Gill, our police and fire chiefs from Erving and Gill, the Massachusetts State Police, the Northfield Dive Team, and all of the first responders from both of those towns, as well as our neighboring communities through mutual aid. These barriers not only aid in suicide prevention, they do protect our first responders. The banks and waters of this river are dangerous under the best conditions. More times than not, they were searching during cold weather, inclement weather, as well as at nighttime. So this is a true benefit to our first responders. To our friends and partners at DOT, thank you for getting this project to the top of the list. I know that myself and my colleagues will continue to advocate for better mental health care in this Commonwealth. Putting barriers on every bridge is not the answer. Removing the stigma of mental illness, recognizing signs when somebody's struggling, and making sure we have the resources to treat mental illness is the only way to truly address suicide as well as self-harm. 988 is the mental health hotline number. Our kids at 3 and 4 years old know to call 911. It's something that's ingrained in them. We have to make sure that everybody knows you can pick up the phone and dial 988. There's also a dedicated extension for veterans when you do call 988.
To my great colleague, Susanna Whips. Thank you, Representative Whips, for your partnership. You know, as I was driving here and thinking about today, I was so moved by what the communities of Erving and Gill, the first responders, MassDOT, and the state had been able to do together, and so humbled that, you know, from the moment I took office, it became clear, thanks to all of your advocacy, that this was a piece of work that I was going to take up with my partner, Susanna Whips. In your honor, I want to offer the same kind of thanks that Rep. Whips just offered to everyone in the communities, the first responders, and everyone who has advocated for so many years for this really important change to the French King Bridge. And I want to say personally to Stacy, your advocacy, as Rep. Whips said, made such a difference. This has been an issue that these communities had grappled with long before I took office, but there was a confluence that happened when you came forward and told the human story that opened up not only our minds, because our minds were open to the desperate situation at the French King Bridge, but also our hearts. So you transformed a loss that is incomprehensibly horrible into action, so that, you know, other families do not have to suffer the same grief and loss that you did. And I think we'll all be forever grateful for your advocacy. And to friends at DOT, as Rep. Whip said, thank you for hearing the need to prioritize this bridge over other pressing projects in our region. It was time. Stacy called us to it, the towns called us to it, the first responders called us to it, and you answered that call. And I'm very, very grateful. Government works sometimes, friends. And today is one of those times where communities, first responders, folks most affected by suicide and depression and loss, they were heard. So thank you so much.
On behalf of my family and my friends, I want to thank every single person here who's been involved in advocating for these barriers for over the years. You were all here long before I was. And obviously the only reason I'm standing here today is because we lost Brian back in 2018. I'd much rather never have known anything about this bridge other than the fact that it's a pretty spot on the way to Vermont. But that's not real life. From the time that we lost him, to the days that we spent on the river looking for him, to the day that I made that first call to Ray Purington, my family has been treated with nothing but kindness and respect from everyone we came into contact with. And over the past 4 years, I've almost felt like an honorary member of Western Mass, and especially Erving. I've laughed and I've cried with many of you, and I'm really glad to call you friends. And my prayers are that no other family goes through what we have, and that my friends here are no longer called to that bridge because someone's life is in jeopardy or worse. Thank you for letting me add my voice to yours. I appreciate every person who joined my Facebook group, brought signs to our rallies, and sent me photos and videos of the construction progress. And my thanks go out to the state and local officials who took my calls, answered my emails, and to the folks at MassDOT and Northern for getting this project completed once it was actually started. I don't want to name any names because I'm definitely afraid that I'll miss somebody at this point, and I'd feel bad, but I'm more than grateful for every single one of you, and thank you for all being here today. I appreciate it.
I'm honored with the task of speaking on behalf of the Erving Select Board. I am the newly elected member of the board, replacing longtime bridge advocate Bill Bembury. I have my own personal stories as a retired law enforcement officer, but I'm going to keep my comments today on behalf of the town and the conversations I had with my colleagues on the board and their thoughts. What I will say is Rep. Whips and Senator Comerford, we should probably get a discount on our speechwriters because a lot of our sentiments are echoed. Could be a budget savings. When I talked to my colleagues, I heard about the stories of this being a long time coming and all of the effort that went into it and all of the people who may be nameless today but contributed in some small way to push that needle one step further. And the sentiment that kept coming up was gratitude. How much heartfelt gratitude we have for everybody who contributed to make this day a reality, finally. Senator Comerford, Rep. Whips, for your leadership, for taking on the charge. Chairman Smith shared a story of having talks with Mass DOT, and Mass DOT said, yeah, we're on board. We're in favor of this. And we need the legislature to appropriate the funds. So thank both of you, not only for spearheading this, but for also taking the charge in your respective legislative bodies and pushing hard for us. Thank you. Mass DOT, thank you for getting it done. Northern Construction, thank you. In our town of town of Erving, excuse me, and the colleagues, counterparts in Gill, our town administrators, our current and past select board members, all officials who contributed in some way. Our former Chief Chris Blair, current Chief Rob Holst, Gill Chief Chris Redmond, Fire Chief Phil Wonka, all of you, thank you. It's already been said, Stacy, you were the point of the spear that finally got this done, and I can't thank you enough. Excuse me. Our brothers and sisters, first responders, that may have left a part of yourselves on that bridge. Thank you. I wasn't going to do this. You know, eternal gratitude can't be expressed enough. Thank you so much for making this day a reality.